So this writing, I think this writing's got quite a lot of information that's interesting and useful. Although I don't think it will all be accurate. Strabo's writings on the Celts was a Greek geographer who was born in Pontus, modern Turkey, and travelled in the Eastern Mediterranean. His text about Gaul draws heavily upon Poseidonus, although he also uses Polybius and Pythes as sources. So it doesn't look like that he actually went there himself. He's drawing on other people's writing. It says the following is only an adaptation of the first section of the Geography of Strabo by C.H. Hamilton, W. Falconer, George Billinson's, H.L. Jones, Cambridge Harvard University Press. So they might not have translated it 100% correct. So the first bit that I find interesting, it says here when this is something the Romans are doing in other areas, but it's a hint and information at what they're doing all over, what their stratagem is. It says when they conquered, they changed many of their cities into villages, right? So, as well as colonizing some of these cities themselves. Well, when they came over here, they established Eboracum, and also in Lincolnshire, Lincoln, Wroxeter, which is near Shrewsbury. So they established cities or turned some of the places into their own cities that they found more suitable to their way of life, how they preferred bigger rivers. And some of the larger cities of the people they conquered, they actually made them reduce the size of them. So it seems to me evidence here that they broke up some of the bigger, more powerful cities that could have been like in Brigantia, some of the other Celtic places. And that may be why we see this evidence of many of the Celts leaving the ring forts and other areas and building farmsteads outside them, over the time. It seems like they actually sought to break up the main power places and establish their cities like Eboracum and Londinium as the main power places. Later on, it definitely says that one of the main reasons why the what the Romans were doing, what the army was there to do, besides subduing them, was to enforcement of payment of the taxes. So clearly, they wanted everyone to continue making produce, but they were just going to tax everyone. It was obviously the creation of a European taxation within the empire to make money out of them all transactions and to enforce that. Well, enforcement of taxation is to go and collect and keep the money. So, according to this, there have been various debates and programs about what the Romans were doing here. Was it more like a franchise? Were they actually ruling the empire? They had a governor over here. The way that he's accounting it in here is to absorb them into the empire for financial purposes, but also, the Druids were an obstruction to that through their religion and practices. In this writing, he's actually giving evidence, and I'll get onto that in a minute when we get to that paragraph. He definitely says that, he notes the Celts for being concerned about one another's health. And if they started to put too much weight on and get fat, that they would, say something about it and try to keep each other in good health and exercise. There are many famous statements. This is a famous piece of writing that many historians draw on, and it's well known. Now, the strengths of the Celts, it seems to me, all the things that are mentioned in this writing of Strabo, we've ended up undermining them, and we've actually got a contradiction of it. So everything the Celts, their strengths, the strengths of the people, health, concerned about health and keeping good weight, which, when you don't overeat, your body can, look after itself a lot better, particularly when it's provided with the correct vitamins and minerals. People underplay that a lot. Now it seems that the current rulers, the current dominating force, they accept cookie culture behind the scenes, who are controlling all the companies wanting to make money out of us, McDonald's, KFC, who are owned by the British aristocracy through BlackRock and Vanguard, which is now being proved, have been directing very sinister and very dark forces of manipulation, getting your fellow humans to accept our cookies, right? Until we pull them on it, and then they start going to change it, and then they go to plan B, a different plan, right? Then they've got cookies on the Smileys. They've got all the cakes and cookies on the Smileys instead. These are the people behind it. It's highly, when you consider that this account is a big statement about those people, right? Now, to proper conquer and defeat those people, and even to mock them, the strength of those people, it says they valued friendship more above anything else. They valued friendship above anything else. More than money, more than excess greed, finance, more than excess food, they valued friendship among anything else. If you really conquer people and you want to spite and despise those people for what they represent and mean, and take away what their core power, what gave them power, those people, was their care and love and concern for each other's health. The Druids actually, even though they say they've got all these weird practices for their judgments and procedures, maybe sometimes, in many television programs, the police like roughing people up a bit in the interrogation room, you know what I mean, to get them to tell the truth. Even on James Bond films, we've got the villain, well, although it's a villain, but it still shows that, he's banging his balls underneath a chair till he tells the truth, Some people who lie, maybe that's what we need Boris Johnson. Maybe we need to get Boris Johnson sat in a chair and cut the bottom off it and start banging his testicles until he starts telling the truth and confessing, Maybe that's why he's getting away with it, and why these lords and aristocracy who have put themselves in a law above all others, they can only be judged by their equals. How can we get them to confess and brought to justice? Now they can only be judged by 3 Supreme Court judges, not even by themselves. And I don't know what you do if you remove all the barons who are accused through the Magna Carta. All barons will judge each other except for those accused. Well, we'll accuse the whole lot of them. Happen to have shares in Vanguard and BlackRock, making profit out of it. Well, who's left to judge it? Including the 3 Supreme Court judges. So who's going to judge them when they're all accused? Now, put that on your breakfast plate and eat it with egg and chips. We need the Druids. We're short of the Druids, right? That's what we're short of now, Mr. Sweetman. Oh, it's Mr. Sweetman. Hello, Mr. Sweetman. Oh, Boris, now, and would you could please confess to your sins? It's Archbishop of Canterbury here. Oh, wait a minute, I'm finishing my cake off. Scoff, scoff, scoff. Oh, Archbishop for tea and cakes, putting the weighing scales. Oh, the needle's gone off the top of the scales, Oh, it's Boris, he's been lying, cheating and stealing, and the needles are off the top of the scales. This is what we're... I think that procedure of judiciary was removed because it was clearly effective, And it actually says that it clearly states in here that it says very clearly that the Celts actually cared passionately about fairness, social fairness, and being treated fairly. And when people were speaking, when there was a speaker, when people take turns to speak, if anyone interrupted them, they had a sword drawn on them to be quiet until the person finished speaking. So they were clearly about free speech. Each person who gets to say their fair share without people butting in and booing them off or whatever. They got to say each person got to say the fair piece, and it was enforced to say the fair piece, whatever they needed or wanted to say, to get the message across. Now it seems that Boris is taking away, your strength, your enforcement powers. It's all going to corporate enforcement now, who you can't argue with because they're not physically there. They're in America making judgments, so it's not even your country's law. I think that great people who had inherent genetic good streak and trait. They might have been feisty, they might have sometimes argued, but they had this extreme passion for fairness. They got angry about it as well, they cared about each other's health, and they cared about free speech. And I think it actually shows in this. And knowing what I've been brought up on and my own opinions as a child, and now more and more now it's been removed, because I find myself getting annoyed and pissed off by what the government's doing to us, and what they've got us doing to each other, that we end up actually as worse sides come out. And then they set us against each other, and we're all blocking each other for putting bars up against, and extra safety measures, and all these things that we don't really need, and the money, when we actually used to try and be each other's better conscience in decisions for food and eating, for example. It clearly says that. Yet what we find is many people unhealthy now and overweight, and what they're doing is, because they resent their own state, then they're pushing it on other people, and what this government, what this aristocracy, what these conquerors have done is actually pervert the good nature of these people and actually transform them into... It's almost like the witch turning someone into a frog, They've turned us into pie-addicted, bacon butty, beer-pushing people who are now even... if somebody tries to say, you shouldn't be pushing beer on people, or you shouldn't be pushing pies on people, then they're trying to make a point out of it, and then they go, do something back, or then they build a pub bigger, and then, it's like, game of slaps, one topping the other. And it's actually, instead of doing things for a conscience on the right thing to do, putting the food right, not promoting excess sales of food, they're going the other way. No, KFC have got the excuse to have more burgers and the excuse to have more, meals. And we've actually been... What's happened is, everything that was strong and good and powerful, they've actually reversed it, and they've perverted it. And I think secretly, people like Prince Andrew and Charles, they have to come across as being, all charitable and good and for the environment. But I think that they actually like the fact that we've been ruined. And when Labour and Conservatives are arguing against each other and debating across a table in Parliament, and when, we're arguing with each other, who's rich, who's poor, who's having this, who's having that, we actually used to help each other and guide each other in the right direction with the right conscience, and be concerned about each other's welfare with common sense, not putting blockades and barriers and gates up everywhere. I think we came up with a common sense, rational answer, and people came together and discussed it and talked about it, rather than actually end up getting into a fight and battle about it. And they've actually, in the smoke of the battle, what's happened is they've run off with the money, stole all the cash, Gordon Brown's run off with all the gold, and they've got people they've got fishing for people to want more. Oh, come on, watch this TV programme, have a bigger garden, now go to B&Q, buy loads of plants, when there's loads of plants in the forest and in nature for free. Garden centres are really insanely ridiculous. All these plants, when the plants growing everywhere. The council does plants in gardens, but then we want to sell more plants in B&Q. It's just insane. And then, it's a bit bigger, a bit more. And every single sale, the same people are making profit out of it. There is no competition in the products, because it's all going to the same people. And it's that tax and revenue that the Romans were enforcing when these people didn't care about the profit. They didn't care about the money. They put friendship, it clearly states they put friendship and regarded their friendships more important than above all. Which we don't now, because they've got people introduced blocking and banning buttons. They had everyone falling under one party opposed to the other party, Labour and Conservative in conflict. They're diabolically devious. In fact, it even clearly states on here, right? It states in the STRABO writing as well that the Celts were quite easy to wind up because all you had to do is go cause some trouble somewhere or go pick a fight somewhere and everyone would run over and come and help to sort it out. In a way, it's a little bit like the Extinction Rebellion, that they cause a fuss over the environment or a bit of plastic in the sea. And then, the Extinction Rebellion are all coming, out like as if they're coming out of the fire station to sort it out. But but then they end up getting, insulate Britain. But what they do is they call it, and then everyone kind of like comes out, to sort it out, but in a sort of opposition. And I think that statement and line in here, this is a major historical account that all university and politicians will be well versed and educated in the writings of Strabo, right? Now, when you're looking to pick up on certain lines from writing and certain comments and statements, I think those liners and those statements are very, very important and bold. And I think they love it. I actually believe that this government actually relishes in the fact now that they've got everyone going out for fish and chips, buying each other fish and chips and pies, and, if you try and persuade them, try and help them to not have it, then they go, oh no, and then it's... then blow the birthday candles out the birthday cake. Then it's a Christmas batter based in 1970s turkey baster, 1980s TV turkey baster, greasy turkey baster, and they're actually causing each other ill health and afflictions. It is almost like turning each other into, unsavory beasts in a way, I know it's not the most, they always say look on the positive side of life, but it's at what point is ignorance stupidity when you're ignoring things that are happening that you need to intervene in? And that when everyone, when they regarded nothing more important than the friendship of others. That's what I used to do. And now I find ourselves just annoyed with everybody for ruining the places, ruining the villages, being obsessed with security. And then we've got all these people set up, the Tandy brothers, and then these other people end up, doing these dodgy things when it's supposed to, buy a building up and it says to reuse it, but then end up knocking it down. And then there's certain people are taking advantage of and misleading. I think there's some sinister guiding forces behind it who are intelligent and it's planned and they know what they're doing. And I think that they love the fact now that, everything we all do is in the name of taxation, is in the name of profit. And they're actually wanting everyone else to be concerned about profit and money, not actually about love, care and friendship. They've perverted that good nature. I know from what I am and who I was as a child, as a human being, embodied what I valued and regarded highly. People being concerned and considerate. And I value that in other people when they're nice and make nice gestures and, do nice things for you. And what's actually happened is that they've perverted the course of humanity. They have perverted the course of humanity in their image, and their image has been taxation and profit, and it's all mainly from this Roman Empire period, I strongly believe, and then buffered again by the Norman conquest. Looking at the diets of these people, right, it says that they actually mainly they lived in forests. It says that most of the towns were in forests within. Now, I think that those major hill fort sites, which were the large cities, actually had forests around them, that will put them within forests. Even the ones that were raised up on platforms had forests down below, and they would have looked quite beautiful, actually, looking out over the oceans of trees. And I actually don't think that the Roman Empire liked all these trees and wanted to cut them down, and that's why they broke most of those major towns up and had them to go to villages and then introduce farming more. Because looking at me needing to look at the diet and research diet, there are many, many dietitians out there, and now we've got on to real experts like, Dr. Ekberg and Eric Berg, these American doctors are actually telling the truth and saying that we need to be eating more leafy greens, and we should be doing, and we only need smaller amounts of meats, really. Now, it does admit that we did eat, animals and hold animals, but they also traded in them as well. And they clearly didn't overeat animals if they were concerned about each other eating too much. They only had enough as what they needed and to trade. Now, and we weren't actually that big on cheese making. It clearly states in here that the Celts weren't really very experienced at cheese making. So we didn't really have this massive thing for excess dairy. It said they did drink milk, but looking at what was available, I've only just discovered the wild garlic recently, and garlic's a biggie because the leaf part of a garlic containing those chemicals, which is antibacterial and antiviral, and it tastes absolutely brilliant, and you don't even need the bulb part, the actual leaf part. Leaves like that and nettles, which increase testosterone, you've got all those. You don't actually need to do farming. From what they had available and from the knowledge of the Druids on the diet and on nature, I don't think we needed that farming. We definitely didn't need it. We didn't need it with the nettle and with the garlic leaves, and with, you've got snails, small animals, frogs, things like that, which, even the French have them now as delicacies. So it must be nice meat. Then you have got wild boars if you want them, and some animals. But then you've got animals that draw chariots as well. I believe that we didn't desperately need that farming. There was no need for it in that Celtic lifestyle, and they definitely didn't actually overeat. So I think when Mike Parker Pearson, I don't know what Mike Parker Pearson's doing, because he must have missed half of Strabo out of his, he must have excluded, the writings of Strabo from his archaeological investigation, I truly believe that this farming was a Mediterranean thing, because obviously it's drier there, so it's harder to to get plants and grow plants in the way that they will grow in the more fertile regions. And then there was this addiction with the bread and convenience with it that spread, and it just caught on through more of a fashion thing, because it was either convenient or cool. We definitely didn't need it, and then I just think that the greed got the better and addiction slowly got the better. And I think that model fits perfectly. I think that model fits because we would have had, amazing forest and woodland cities, up to and around, the hill forts, and they've got these natural springs, like Silbury Hill's got natural springs, and at Bath in Bristol. I think the model was very much like what they found, with the Aztecs when they had all these, amazing natural, jungle habitats, which had very clever amenities and planning for the water supplies and having it in and around nature. I think that it's been bad influence all the time, all the way since then, and I think it's clearly evident, and it's coming to a pinnacle now, because there is a dark and sinister side to it, where there are certain genetic traits that have been introduced that are more favourable to lying, dishonesty, and they actually even venerate them. I think Boris Johnson is kind of a homage and a celebration of getting away with cheating and getting away with lying, which is terrible. And then they have their little courtly procedures, which mainly evade liability or, let them off on it, And, what we actually are lacking is we are needing someone to, get them in the naughty chair, and actually they portray some of those people as bad people, but it's actually worse. When you, the whole theory and basis of the judiciary is to, if you read the history of it, it is to inflict a punishment. It is revenge. There's no doubt about it. The whole model of the judiciary is revenge and punishment. It is to inflict something for what they have done and to punish, Now, a lot of the time they don't tell the truth and they lie, So, I think the model for that James Bond film, I think, it clearly states, he admits that they cared about social justice and fairness. Now, if they got a bit rough around doing that, because some people don't tell the truth and some people lie. So, if the police, occasionally, it's on TV. It can't be that bad, or else the film board would completely ban it permanently, and you wouldn't even be sat down in the cinema watching it on the screen. I mean, they've still got people shooting each other now and running around for entertainment. Oh, it's entertainment, right? It's not totally banned, is it? So it can't be that bad. You can't say, horrible histories. We're still watching it for entertainment. Yeah, we're saying, they're horrible, bad people, so let's put some entertainment on, Now, they've got Daniel Craig sat in the chair bashing his testicles, right, to get him to tell the truth. And they've got, the Bill, or whatever it is, not Poirot, but, you've got your 1980s cop drama, Starsky and Hutch and whatever. Starsky and Hutch are up in the interrogation room knocking him about a bit to get a confession or whatever. I think Boris needs knocking. I think Boris needs it. He needs it because people like that won't confess and they won't admit it. They've got a natural inherited genetics of being lying, cheats and stealing. And unfortunately, what they're doing is setting us against each other and bringing those the worst side out in us, when actually, sometimes, if you just, he needs to be put on that chair and he needs his testicles bashing until he confesses, and maybe all the House of Lords do, because they've got us calling them the right honourable gentlemen, which we're manifesting the reality in our speech and agreeing with to address them by that title. Oh, he's a right and honourable person. He's a right and honourable person, and so is he's a right and honourable person, and he's a right and honourable person. When in fact, the truth of the matter is, they're all criminals. They're all been making money out of BlackRock and Vanguard out of us all, taxing us to death. They've been evading social justice. And, they've been making us unhealthy, getting us to have the cookies, and then when we pull them on it, then, they can't. It's so obvious that they're not going to, right, yeah, you've been trying to accept cookies, right? What's behind that? We know what's behind accept cookies. Exactly the opposite from what STRABO was saying. And I think they have a relish in seeing how the mighty have fallen, how we have corrupted the Celts into feeders, the good conscience on the shoulders of these people who cared about each other's health. And, if they're, too greedy or eating too much, watch your tummy or whatever. And I think it's not been too bad up to, even though there were many great, feasts through all history. We've got records of feasts, but, a lot of the photographs from the 1800s and that, there's a lot less people in his worst state now. It's accelerated to a state where this corporate McDonald's place has put profit and taxation and power above everything else. It's not actually competent or responsible enough. And it is not the conscience on the shoulder. It's actually the opposite shoulder, which is, having a burger. And then when you try and, make a point out of it, it comes back with an excuse or a point to reason it away. Or it's battling you through the adverts. It's like the idea itself is fighting. I strongly believe that they have absolutely wiped the floor with us. And they absolutely love it. They've ripped up all the ancient heritage sites. They've put done signs exactly over the top of them. They've got us singing their glory, worshipping them, God save them, the Archbishop, and it's all, they've managed the deception, the dream that many people are still in, which Neil Oliver now and Russell Brand and, Lawrence and with the Reclaim Party, they're openly saying it on, it's not just me, professionals on broadcast, national broadcast professional programs and political parties are saying it. Don't you start to think that this is not just incompetence? There's some directed intent behind it. And I think that they actually, if we did care about each other, and friendship above everything else, when you have a culture that's primary operating factors are based on sharing things voluntarily, not forced sharing, just that's the done thing, and caring and love and actually being concerned about each other's health, right? And actually an inclination against addictions, right? You end up not having this strong taxation economy of financial boom because people aren't that bothered about making profit in stocks and shares and having more or less, and they're more bothered about if your neighbour's happy. Am I going to build a massive thing across the road that is going to upset them and look ridiculous? Not that they might not want me to stop doing that, but maybe we could come to some sort of agreement how it should be, or build it somewhere where everyone's like, okay, yeah, we're cool with that, put it there. That's cooperation, not the co-op being taken over by BlackRock and Vanguard and then mysteriously having the funeral division of the co-op, and then, where all the mysterious, incidents happening, that perfectly seem to be politically aligned and come at the exact right time. You know what I mean? It's Boris is the model of these people, and he's a liar and a cheater. Now, when you extrapolate on that principle, when he's not in the limelight with the spotlight on him, what is that model that Boris is doing behind the scenes of these companies like BlackRock and Vanguard and other things? They're doing the lying and cheating and stealing, but we can't see them doing it. And likely worse, because Boris can only get away with a certain extent in the limelight, and the rest of it we don't know about. So he's pushed the boundaries already of what he can get away with. He's getting away with more than what he can get away with. So that means that in the shadows, his colleagues surely must have pushed the boundaries even more. That's the problem. That is the problem. And, this is it. We've got dark and sinister things. It's almost like, I was thinking of the War of the Worlds, with that statement, like, that these great minds plotted against us, and all this. And then what actually happens in the War of the Worlds is, even though these great minds far superior than our own plot against us, it's actually these great minds that are far more selfish, jealous and dishonest plot against us. And in the War of the Worlds, it's actually the atmosphere of the planet that they end up being allergic to, isn't it, when they end up just dying because they can't survive in our atmosphere. What I think is the case is that these people, like Boris Johnson, have got a natural inclination for lying, cheating and stealing, but at the end of the day, they can only do so much where it's blatantly obvious. Then we have to pull them on it, because when we get to the cookies example, it's like, oh, just a minute, just what are you doing here? What's going on? Oh, accept cookies, cookies. What's going on with that? Well, it's just a thing on your computer. We just accept it. Yeah, but it's just a minute. It's sort of like psychologically getting you to, accept the cookies that you're selling on us all and making us unhealthy. You got us on that one. Oh, so you haven't admitted it, have you? Well, it was a bit obvious, that one. So he sulks off, and he didn't slip that one past us. But yeah, is Boris lying, cheating and stealing? That's what it takes. And then what they do is they change the plan. But the fact is, who is responsible for that cookie outbreak? Now, it's the same people, but all what's happened is we've pulled them on it, and now they've switched to plan B. So, but it's like cutting the head off the hydra and everyone goes back. We need these people. These people are the people behind it. The cookie thing was planned, carefully, strategically planned and orchestrated for profit and gain, and to, above all, a detrimental health effect upon us. And that goes against what we said in Strabo. Strabo is saying that the Celts were very concerned about each other's health. Now, what's happened is that these people are not concerned about his health for those who accept cookies. It's being more concerned about the money and the profit. Now, I am calling them out now, right? They love these lines, and they absolutely love to go through this. Oh, the Celts were good at this, were they? Oh, they cared about that, did they? Right? They've picked out those exact lines from this fucking work, right? And they have gone and corrupted it. And they absolutely flaming freaking love it. It's defeat. They've absolutely picked out that line from here, and they have slaughtered us with it. Look at this now. Oh, did you think you were helping each other out with your health, did you? Well, look at you all now, you pie-scoffing, greedy pigs. You know, they're not helping each other now, are you? You know, that's what it's come to. And unfortunately, they've got, not everyone, because remember, thankfully, 1/3 of the whole nation will not elect these people and will not tick the box to, will not accept what they're doing. They will not conform, and they will not comply, and they will not, advocate it. But unfortunately, these powers have managed to set up a procedure where they only need a very small amount of support to get in charge. They're masters of deception. They are masters of lies. It's like Lex Luthor, the greatest criminal mind of all time. And the greatest criminal mind of all time happens to be in an establishment of peerage where they can't be prosecuted through the courts, except by their own peers. Now, if they can only be judged by their own peers and they're all corrupt, then we're screwed, right? And, and apparently now we can't even petition them over it, supposedly in the House of Lords, because they claim that only 3, Supreme Court judges or whatever, how many of them there are, can do it, which they're probably the most corrupt out of them all. If they're making profit from BlackRock and Vanguard, I don't see how they can lawfully sit a case on anything. We've got a situation where, will all barons accused please leave the room, including those 3 in the Supreme Court? Right, there's no one in the fucking room. Who is going to judge it? Who is going to judge it? No one. Because they are all guilty. Therefore, no one can judge it, apparently, because the right and honourable gentlemen's, they're all right and we're wrong. And there's no one even left to even say that they're wrong. We've got a serious issue, right? It is these people behind it. Anonymous has now proved it. We've got official international broadcasts now openly talking about it and saying, we believe that there's intent behind the accept cookies. It's planned. And if we pull them on it, they're going to change their, where's the justice from it? All right, they're not doing it anymore. Well, who's behind it? Who's behind accept cookies? They're not doing it anymore, but it's a strategic plan against the public health. We need the court case for it. Who started it? I want to know who came up with that, who they were talking to when they came up with it. If anyone slipped into an email or, into a phone call or, intercepted a phone call or email or slipped it in somewhere, even if not directly responsible, it's Earl Dartmouth, is clearly, obviously, swanning around owning land in Huddersfield, trying to build houses and further right off the National Heritage Site that we've got left, right? And he's clearly, he's the council, he's behind Transdev. They've put his name on the buses, D1 Dartsmouth flying around, D1 Darts, with very sinister-looking characters on the buses, which are really troubling to have to look at. We're under attack. We're actually in a war where they don't have cannons, artillery, and cavalry in another country. Their army is global. Their infantry and their troops and their soldiers are under their employment. They act for reward of money, right? They come into work, into service of the regime through the employment of their McDonald's, KFC, and they serve us illness through their actions. And then they've got, it doesn't matter what party they are, the party it's just a deception. They've got Nigel Farage on TV, desperately trying to keep us all drunk and intoxicated, as many people as we can. Nigel Farage is one of the main soldiers. You know, you can claim whatever party he's for. Nigel party is for their party. He's part of it. And I truly believe that they have got very sinister motives behind it. And it's been going on for a long time and actually been getting worse and worse and worse and worse. Many people now are aware of it. Many doctors. There were a lot of bad doctors in the day. They were being told to, drink Lucozade. I'm ill. I got chicken pox and God knows what, right? I'm ill. Oh, here, drink this Lucozade. It's sugar pop. Well, I'm already going to the sweet shop and buying penny sweets. Haven't they got enough sugar in them? Right? So, that's the problem. They've got products, Lucozade. They're actually telling your doctor to tell you to drink Lucozade when you're ill. When, right? You could have gone out and picked nettles, made nettle soup or wild garlic soup, and you would have got better 10 times faster and not being overweight and not hammered your metabolism, right? They weren't telling the doctor to say that, right? The doctor, I prosecute, and I would have people to come forward, like with Jimmy Savile. Who's Jimmy Savile touched up? People are coming forward and giving evidence against Jimmy Savile, right? Now, we need people to come forward, name doctors who told you to drink and buy sugar Lucozade product from a shop while you were ill and claim that was going to make you get better faster, right? We need paedophile cases for these doctors because it's likely Prince Philip and the Earl Dartmouth and Prince Andrew and their party, their peers, who were behind it. Accept cookies, accept Lucozade. It's these people. I know them. I know they are, and I know exactly what their model of operations is. I fucking know they are and what they're doing. The minds behind it. They are criminal. They're absolutely despicable criminal, and they play on every word on this, and they love these lines, and they bent them. They've got the genetically good, honest people's culture, and they have ruined it, and they absolutely rule, dominate, and they've got us marching in circles with soldiers and even fighting against each other for their glory under their flag while we are killing each other with food. Killing each other. When we're used to care and putting profit and taxation above actually caring. Because Boris Johnson cannot imagine a world that operates on the goodwill of other people. It's all been perverted like Christmas for turkeys and feasts and all these things, like which Christmas is meant to be for goodwill and sharing, and they've perverted it into their commercial corporate ends, right? And 1/3 of the people haven't fallen for it and don't advocate or vote for them. So we're not all lost. It's what they can get away with putting in the news. It's what they can get away with believing. And it's those Coronation Street watching Muppets who are in the, birthday cake bubble of, it's those people who are sold on the Princess Diana mug. It's Courtney Love. Oh, it's Courtney Love. Oh, it's Prince Andrew at my door. Oh, I've come around for a cup of tea. Oh, that's funny. I've got a Prince Andrew Courtney Love cup. I've got a Prince Andrew, teapot. Oh, how did you know that? I was listening in. Oh, it's Courtney Lover's got a Prince Andrew teapot. They like the royals. Where's Kurt today? Oh, he blew his head off with a shotgun. That's funny. So did Boris Johnson's neighbour. He blew his head off with a shotgun as well. That's funny. What would drive him to do that? Well, it seems pretty funny at the moment because everything in this village is going wrong because, they've blocked us in with houses and then the guy mysteriously dies next door and they pull those really nice houses down and build some massive yuppie houses, and then the guy across the road, mysteriously, has to move away and another guy comes across, pulls the wall down, puts an horrible wall up, and then down in the village in the pub that we really, really like, then they've gone and put security fences all around it and a massive gate when it was the most beautiful part of the village. There's lots of weird things happening at the moment, Every single thing that we seems to be nice is getting destroyed. Now, just a minute, who owns all the contractors? And who owns all the builders? And then there's another builder locally. Oh, he's got 18 different building companies for tax reasons. That's a lot of building companies. Oh, he's working with Bob the Builder. Can we fix it? Yes, we can. Oh, just a minute. That's what's happening in the council chamber. All the decisions have been fixed. Who's been telling them which way to vote? All the Tories. And who owns all the shares in the building companies? All the Tories. What a coincidence. It's Balfour beat it. I've been beaten. I'm being beaten every day. We've never been beaten. That's the history. We've been beaten. Something needs to happen to Boris Johnson and his cronies. Someone needs to get, because what's happening at the moment is not working. They need to get in the naughty chair and someone needs to bust their balls, because that is the only way you can get them to confess, because they will not admit it. In fact, they're doing even more now, and they're using all manner of technology, mysterious plane incidents, you name it, Dumbling. They're getting people to do these things. And in the STRABO writing, it says the Celts are easy to wind up and to, and to lure into, false reactions, because all you have to do is, pull one of the strings and then they all come over. That's what they're doing. It tells you in here. That's another one of the legendary famous lines. It says, by STRABO's writing, it says, the Celts are really easy to wind up because all you have to do is, go pick on somebody or do something and they all come over and try. So that's what they do with Dublin. No, it's Ukraine. That's STRABO's written the book on Ukraine. Oh, it was like, we'll go pick on a few Ukrainians and everyone's going, oh, Ukraine, quick, send things over, help them. That's where they've got that trick from in here. It's in STRABO. It says it. It specifically says it. That they're easy to wind up, and take advantage of, because all you have to do is go and fight somebody that so they care about, and they all come over. Full charity case. This is what they're using. There are intelligent people in this aristocracy who read this and use it, right, and absolutely relish and love actually perverting the actual traits of the people until everyone is literally, it's a health nightmare. It's not incompetence. The incompetence is the fact that only 1/3 of the people understand it and know that, and that's why they don't vote for him, right? The incompetence comes in where you get the middle ground of people don't really, they wouldn't do that, or they don't believe it, or they're actually on that side, and they're actually liking, aiding and abetting them. The incompetence is the people who don't really understand it or don't want to admit it. That's incompetence. Like Farage. Farage is a double agent because he's playing for the other side. One minute he's saying, oh yeah, we need to have, rights and justice and all this, but then he's, getting everyone pissed. So it's just ridiculous. Something needs to be done about it. If you read this, it's all plain and clear, and there's nothing they like more than trying to. It's like he's trying to outdo the history books or have one up on the history books. This is history. This is, it's STRABO. It's around to STRABO. they're rewriting history. Oh, the Celts were, they didn't care about anything more than the fellow friends, did they? Well, we'll soon see about that, Oh, they cared about each other's health, did they? Well, we'll see about that. That's it. And the sooner you realise it, Boris is there. I mean, he wouldn't mind if he wasn't lying and if he wasn't making stuff up and he hadn't been fined, but he is. He is lying. He's making stuff up. How was he getting away with it? Because 1/3 of the people actually are affiliated with that party and alignment, or that's actually secretly think it's a good thing because it's saying that, you can get away with that and it's all right to do it. That's the problem. And it's if they can get enough of the middle ground people, to either, not to think it's all right or just to not notice or to ignore it, then, but people are realising now, and it is coming into the mainstream, there is an intended malice, there is an intended movement, and it is the darker side of human beings. It is the darker side of human beings. It's the principle of why people even get angry and mad anyway. But the difference is, when we get angry and mad, we don't need to hide it. When they get angry and mad, they do it. They work in the shadows and try and get scapegoats to act for them and on their behalf. Like with the Ramsden estate. King George just didn't buy it. They set it up so Sam Coppell went over to Australia, mysteriously got rich, and then come over. Then he bought it himself, and then through an act of parliament, he handed over the land to King George and claimed he was giving it to the people. But he gave it to King George, and then it pops Imperial Chemical Industries, and then boom, boom, boom. Then you've just written off a major ancient heritage site and taken out your major liberal opponents, and then you rip all the liberal stronghold pubs out of the town. So even the classic legendary liberal stronghold pubs are all gone. You just defeated the Liberals because after 1970, no one voted for them anymore. They'd actually replaced the Liberal. What they've done with the Celts here, right? What they've done with the Celts here and what they've turned us into, or trying to turn us into, right, is exactly what they're doing with the Liberals. They transform the Liberals into Labour, right? Oh, you're Liberal, are you? Freedom and liberty. Right, we'll soon see about that. And they transform them into, as if by magic, piff, paff, puff, turn a monkey into a frog. They've turned them into the Labour Party. And they've filled all the mills with them, right? And that's what they do. They transfer, if something, they transform, and they don't want to be accountable for it. They get other people to do it on their behalf and coerce them into it, either by bribery, by paying them off, or by from behind the scenes, switching layers, doing this or that. And now the capacity for it is so great with the technology, they can even replace audio, video, and now they've got, they've got McDonald's making his, it's not our fault, it's McDonald's, it's KFC, it's not the government's fault. Well, who owns McDonald's and KFC? Oh, well, it's a British aristocracy. This is it. They're using scapegoats to take the rap for their strategy, when all this accept cookies thing is coming from this entity, because it absolutely wants to dominate and rule, and it wants, to be the best, and everyone to worship it as a god. Which is ridiculous because the Pope says, Ronaldo is not God, So that's it. We need to openly address and accept the malice and the darker side of human nature. Not just the obvious dark side of human nature. Oh, there was a shooting or there was a stabbing. But maybe someone arranged it. Pulled strings. I mean, they've got this program, that Devs program, which goes into all weird stuff like that. I never liked that Devs program, but it addresses strange things going on. There are people pulling strings and setting other people up, and the capacity to it now is so great. And I think that if you have got, if you have Extinction Rebellion, you've got a capacity to be angry. Extinction Rebellion go put a banner up when they're angry. They go run out on the, on the race course, in front of the Queen or whatever they're doing, like the suffragettes, These aristocracy people are doing political actions. They're doing actions, but their capacity of an action is not, Gail Bradbrook smashing a window with a glass hammer. Their actions, when they smash their hands down on the table, it's not just like me banging on the table. When he bangs his hand on the desk, a plane comes down. That's his power. Bam! Crimp, bam! That's his... How's he doing it? Well, how does Gail do it? She's using a certain right, but she's not bothered about taking the rap for it. These men don't like to be identified as the people where it's coming from. They use Boris Johnson to take the rap. Oh, let Boris Johnson be the fool, be the liar, because, he's the only person with the capacity to do it who can do it. Most people aren't stupid enough. They need a man who's stupid enough to go up and do it, to an extent where, we test him out, put him on top gear, see if he can take a few raps from Clarkson. Oh, it's Boris Johnson, he's the new advocate. Put him on Clarkson, see if he can take a few raps, like bam, 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 take a few Clarkson jokes. Oh, he's all right. Now get him as Prime Minister. No, first we'll try him out as the Mayor of London, and now, he's Prime Minister. Because they need people who can take the raps. Like Tony Blair, who is a complete criminal and demon. Where's the gold, Tony? Where's the gold, Well, where do you think he is? Oh, my mate, I've sold it to my mates in Blackrock and Vanguard, we're taking over the world. What do you think I'm doing? Going to leave it in the hands of the public? Like all over Huddersfield, are you joking? Oh, it's given to Huddersfield. The Huddersfield was given to the people, or was it? Then why don't we all own our own land then? What the fuck's Earl Dartmouth doing with it, the cunt? How did Earl Dartmouth get hold of it? No, King George has got the land because he took it from Ramsden, right? That's why, because it was a Liberal area that sided with the Ramdas during the Civil War, and was about to be discovered as a major brigante's headquarters and beautiful landscape by Varley, and then a war breaks out, so we can't do the proper excavations and findings when it's clearly obvious. I don't need to be Eel Railston. In fact, better the professor who doesn't know is not capable of knowing than one who does, like on Dr. No, Sit down, professor, where's the voice coming from, There will be incidents and accidents if you don't comply, planes will fall from the sky, this is it. Gail Bradbrook's capacity is, right, it's about putting windows through on banks. When she gets angry about something, these people are dying, right? Babies are getting hit with the same name as Liberal Democrat councillors. Now, who would do such a thing? Right, who's been getting the entire world to accept cookies psychologically, actually, physically, ridiculous cookie dough, absolutely annihilating your metabolism, right? Which is contradictory to STRABO. Who's behind it? Who would do such a thing? Who do you think? This is it. Who would do such a thing? Well, not me, because I'm trying to help people and get people to eat healthy food. We haven't even got the food we should be eating in the supermarket. They didn't want it to be there because they own the supermarkets and orchestrate the supermarkets and control the supermarket food lines. They didn't want us to have the healthy food and don't want us to. Now, well, why are there still diet programs? Why are there still health programs? Well, because 1/3 of the people, as I've said, aren't that stupid. But unfortunately, even they get influenced badly, and it's difficult to protect yourself from the influence. And then all the other people are well and truly sold on it. This is the problem. Now, I don't know how we're going to do this because these people are protected from the courts. Who else would it be than someone who's they're claiming that they're immune or they can only judge each other? When who's left to how can they judge each other when they're all accused? Because I accuse them all, every single one of them. There may be one Lib Dem minister left in the room. I don't know if we can trust the Lib Dem baronesses or not. That's the problem. We should, for certain, we can't trust the Supreme Court judges because it's not even supposed to be in the Supreme Court. It's meant to be in Parliament because it's a fundamental right, and you can't get rid of that. The Gordon Brown, another muppet under the control. Doesn't matter how clever you are with numbers when numbers don't matter, because you can't put a value, a number. If you want to put a number on everything, oh, here's a Mona Lisa painting. What's the number of it? Well, 3,000 is, or 3 million. What's that Mona Lisa painting? 3 million. Oh, up on Madonna morning. Well, what's that worth? Well, priceless. There's no price to it. It's priceless. I wouldn't sell it for the world. Well, you will if you're in Ireland because you ain't got no option because I'm building 500 houses and you can't, you have to get permission. Boom, boom, boom. I got you. Boom, boom, boom. What? It's a fucking Handel Centre. Boom, boom, boom. Where's now they're literally dropping the bomb on the ancient sites in Ireland, and they've even got the Irish people addicted to all the foods, which is ridiculous. The psychopathic. We're dealing with psychopathic people who are immune from the law and the greatest criminal minds of our time. They're the greatest criminal. They make Lex Luthor look like, a primary school kid. That's the problem. We need, and they're using Ukraine, they're using the Russian government. There is no government. There is no other countries. There is only them. They have supreme power over the planet, and they've been using it to our detriment and for their financial stockpiling gain, and not only that, for their trust and admiration. And they've been trying to get us to want more money and more social pursuit, worship the stars and want to be like them is ridiculous, when everyone could have been relatively happy with everyone being caring, kind and considerate, then we would have had a good society. But they don't value that because it's all about who's calling the shots. And when we have that, we don't have them. They're not calling the shots and they're not the ones making the decisions. And that's the difference with it. It all goes back to this. They wanted the tax and revenue. They wanted everyone to be taxed. That's what it came down to. And that's why the empire, that was what that empire was all about. If the customs of a certain civilization were that bad, why didn't they already? Why did they even have it? How did it even come to be in the first place? Surely, because Strabo's not even Strabo's not actually rubbishing the Strabo isn't rubbishing the Celts in this work. He notes positive and negative. He acknowledges both good and bad, and all the good aspects of them. Unfortunately, we're having it drained out of us. They've made a big dint in his good nature, and Zuckerberg's finishing it off. I mean, Zuckerberg's Jewish. He's not even Christian anyway. And that explains everything. Zuckerberg thinks he wants to make the world a good place, and it's and everyone be nice to each other. But the way he's doing about it, he's going through a forced regime of advertising and commerce, which actually ends up he's been harming communities. It's been really, really harmful to communities. And Zuckerberg is not playing for the fair side. He's taken a massive, he's joined the Moorish team, whereas Elon Musk we don't really know where we are with Elon Musk. He is kind of odd because he's got this, he doesn't have the massive ridiculous house. He's behaving strange, and he's got this like normal house, but yet he's really into the technology. He's wanting to bring all these brain, mental, mind and machine merging stuff, but then he's really into the environment and natural energies, but then again he's into space. So he's a bit of a he's difficult to predict because you're not quite sure what side he's on. Maybe he's not on any side, but there's definitely this entity that I believe they've done all the classic moves. It's all from the book. They love it. They're all classics. They're all absolute classics from here, right? And they love it. It's the style, the panache. I don't think you quite understand what their value. You see, they do value style and panache. They value, right, the style in which they've gone about corrupting us onto their accept cookies and their health detriment, and then they go tell the doctor to go buy their product, some Lucozade, when you realize, oh, you stupid idiots, you should have gone and get something that lives, but I'm not telling you that, It's by the book. It's the panache, the style of which they've corrupted us by it's like their masterpiece work. But you've got to be in on the joke and understand what they value in the intellectual plane. They've done these by the book. Everyone's now more bothered and concerned about the money and profits and the numbers and the taxation, and not about caring about each other. Everyone's now hammering each other's health and forcing on each other, not actually helping each other be healthy. These are classics from the book, and they think they're the dog's bollocks for it. It's this, and when Boris comes out with a new one, when they always drop COVID, they absolutely thought that was the dog's bollocks dropping COVID. It was a genius Brexit. They got to come back with a better one. Oh, it's been cop. Oh, we got Brexit, been cop, Brexit. Oh, now we got COVID. Bang, bang, boom. They love it. It's Ireland. They've got ancient heritage. Or, who conned them into accepting that, 500 homes? You can't object to it. Boom, boom, boom. There's an Arundel Centre, boom, like a bomb going off next to ancient site. You need to understand, right, how good they think they are. Not in terms of, altruistic good, how genius, these criminal genius. It's absolute criminal genius. How else? They've got a law that says if you would, make a profit from someone else whilst putting someone else at a loss, then it's a crime. That's how you define theft. So if you would make a profit out of someone whilst putting someone else at a loss, that's their entire philosophy. They're saying in law what they're doing is illegal, but they're doing it, and it's their main primary pursuit. It's corporate profit to a loss of us. Because we haven't even got the funds to oppose them, and now they're pricing lawyers out of his price range completely, and they're putting everything on automated decision-making from corporate entities who are based in other countries that you can't even get through to if they don't want to talk to you. We're absolutely screwed. It's literally like, I don't know what Mark Zuckerberg and YouTube are playing at. They are helping hammer us into the ground. Although, part of those platforms is our saviour in a way, because we've managed to get things like the Reclaim Party and Russell Brand and some channels, but they're starting to ban those, like they banned David Icke, and now in Canada they're starting to, if Canada gets its way, then we probably likely won't even have those channels, maybe Neil Oliver won't even be able to be on TV if Canada gets its way as it's going. So, we need to find a way, whether it's through the Supreme Court, and the CPS ain't going to take, the House of Lords to the Supreme Court, because it's outside of the intellectual capacity and training of the Crown Prosecution Service. They aren't trained to acknowledge and identify that someone who introduces and coordinates an entire global movement that is getting people to accept cookies and what that means on their health psychologically is a stratagem to business and corporate profit through a ruling class and regime that has doesn't have his health interests at heart and is actually acting to detrimentally affect our health strategically and executes that perfectly. The CPS are facilitated to investigate or direct the police to investigate who started it and identify them and prosecute them in the Supreme Court when it's Earl Dartmouth and Lord Dinkelby of Dugsmouth, Lord Dinky of Donut. That's the problem. We need them prosecuted. And we're not talking about Lord Annenfield, going to prison for whatever and then saying, no, he can't be prosecuted. You can be prosecuted by his equals, But it's meant to be in part what we're supposed to, I don't think there's going to be any of them left to hear the case. I think they're all involved in it together. So who's left to prosecute them? We're going to have them prosecuted in America for world crimes. If it's global, which it is, accepting cookies global, to detriment of health, and you would get, you could probably get doctors now, the good doctors like Ekberg and Berg to give evidence on it. You'd have to prosecute in America because it's a global crime. It's international crime. You probably can get them prosecuted in America, for global crime, which like Jonathan M. Fuller says, it's genocide in a way, because you're planning on, effectively, getting the world to accept cookies and understanding that it was strategically planned for the detriment of his health and to the gain and profit of their corporate companies, and we know who they are. That is intent and execution of health detriment, right? Well, what was COVID? If someone planned it and placed it, well, it's world global intent of health detriment. So it's the same thing. It's just a different plan with the same pursuit. That's all it is. They're going to have to be prosecuted either in Australia or America for world crimes. We even need the Australian and American government to have the entire House of Lords arrested, all of them, and all the peers, and they need to be on trial like Andrew was, all of them. They need to be prosecuted. We need to know what access they've got to military control and corporate control of companies, and exactly who started this accept cookie trend, whose idea was it. We need to know, who's the primary person with their battle table, and is it like a nod and a wink? How are they communicating with Putin? Are they just, like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and he's expected to get the idea and then play his part? Or was there a message sent in code? They're communicating with each other. They're all profiting out of it. Nancy Pelosi, a lot of them, and they're having meetings. Someone has access to actual messages, dinner party conversations, winks and nudges from solicitors. We haven't got any lawyers on our side because all the lawyers are part of the same lawyer group who are eventually owned by the